Hello and welcome to another video. So before I get started with today's video, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, comment down below, like the video if you like it, I guess. And guys, look at my makeup. I don't know if you can see it. I copied this Pinterest tutorial and I actually had all the eyeshadows for it and I'm so happy. I'll try to insert a picture here so you guys can see it. It's a cute summer look. And I changed my nose ring. I put in a little hoop, but I'm kind of mad because I wear a lot of hoops, so I have a lot of different colors, and I have like these I think they're gold, maybe rose gold hoops, but they don't match with my little hoop, and I only have silver hoops, so I feel like I look kind of dumb, but you can't even see the hoops, so whatever. I also have coffee in here. My eyes melted. So for today's video, I want to talk about MD PhD programs because I feel like there's still a lot of students who don't know what it is, and that is also like the program that I'm going to be applying to next summer. So I thought I'd just talk about it, fill you guys in case you don't know what it is or what the heck I'm applying for. Because I realized I actually never really talked about what it was. Like for me, I think the program sounds very self-explanatory, but that's like because I've done a lot of my research on it. Like, of course I don't know everything yet because I'm not in an actual program, but like I know a lot about them. For first generation college students or students who don't come from family of doctors like MDs and PhDs, you might not even know what this is. And I want to talk about it, so hopefully it'll encourage more students to look into these programs because they're very neat and helpful, especially for low-income students. Like, it eliminates a lot of barriers. So let's get started. MD PhD programs. They are programs where you get your MD, which is a degree a physician has, and you get your PhD, which is the degree a researcher has. Traditionally, these MD PhD programs are for basic science researchers. So like if you're doing research in chemistry or neuroscience, any of those, and you're like actually in like a wet lab and you're like pipetting and like doing stuff in the lab, those are more traditional routes. That's the type of research most MD PhD students do. However, now these programs are becoming more diverse, and so they're accepting students with other types of research backgrounds. Like, you don't necessarily just have to be in a wet lab. I just realized I keep kicking the stand. So now there's students like me who can apply who don't necessarily work in a lab with mice or anything like that, but we work in the community and we do interventions and we do classes. That's what interventions are, like to teach people about why they should get their mammograms, or we could do research with data sets and numbers and like do statistics and stuff like that. And so that's the type of research I'm interested in. And now more schools are starting to accept students who have research interests like mine. There's also other students that do research in like anthropology, maybe sociology. Like, there's a little bit of everything now, and they are becoming more diverse. So basically, if you end up figuring out that during your undergrad years that you loved research but like you still want to do medicine, you still want to be a doctor, you can do both. And that's what I ended up finding out, like when I was doing research in undergrad. Like, I found that it was very helpful and I felt like I was actually doing something, like I was bringing change. In terms, I guess, of the structure of the MD PhD program, you would do 2 years of medical school and then you would do your PhD, whether it's like 4 to 5 years. I think it's usually 4 to 5 years depending on what type of research you do. It might take longer. Mine's is going to take less time, so it might be maybe like 3 years. Yeah, so you get your PhD degree and then you go back and you finish your last 2 years in medical school. And so it's usually like 2, 4, 6, 8, usually 8 years long. And I know that sounds crazy and you're like, what the heck, why would I even put myself through 8 years of school? That's like elementary school. But the nice thing is that you go to school for free. So your tuition is paid for. Like, you don't pay any tuition for 8 years of school. That's pretty amazing. But then it doesn't end there. I feel like this is starting to sound like an ad. You also tend to get stipends every year of about $30,000. And that is because you're doing research, and most of these programs are funded by the NIH. And so that means they have like money every year put aside for these programs to pay for these students, like education. So not only is school free, but you also get paid to go to school, and usually most programs give you like some type of health insurance or dental insurance, and so basically you're all covered. In a way, it's kind of more like a job, like you're working 8 years for an institution doing research and learning how to become a doctor. And I just think that's really neat. Like, honestly, you can't choose any other career that would do that for you, that would pay you $30,000 and will cover your tuition, and you get insurance. I mean, $30,000 also isn't a lot. Like, you'll have like enough money, I guess, to live. Not really, like, you're not balling out here. But I still think it's pretty neat. So I encourage you, if you have interests in research, any type of research, it could be social science research, hard sciences, and you want to be a doctor, and you know you want to do both, I would definitely recommend that you look into these programs. Now, although it sounds like all great and it's like rainbows and flowers and like sounds like the best program ever, spots are so limited. So each institution, the numbers vary a lot. Some institutions might only accept 5 students. Other institutions might accept 10 students. Others maybe more like 18 to 20. It really depends on the school and like how much funding they have, I guess, or like how many students they feel they can support. So that's kind of the catch. You have to be competitive enough to apply to these programs. And even if you don't think you're competitive enough, but like you have the passion for it and you're set on it, shoot your shot. Like, all you can do is try. We are competitive, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. I also wanted to touch on the requirements for MD PhD programs, because I feel like there's also a lot of misconceptions about that. So as I said, MD PhD programs are very competitive. They usually accept anywhere maybe from 5 to like 20 students each year, and that's each institution. Most students always think that your GPA has to be like a 3.8 and above if you decide to apply for these programs, and then you have to have like years of research experience and like published research papers, and that's not necessarily the case. Your GPA can be lower than a 3.8. Your MCAT score doesn't have to be in the 99th percentile. Like, it can be lower. And in terms of research interests, I feel like institutions look at your passion and how well you're able to articulate that. Because I've heard students get in with maybe like 2 summers worth of research, and it could be each at different labs. I've heard that students get in with no publications, maybe just like research posters. And then again, like on the other side of the spectrum, there's students that might be a little bit more like me, with like 3 years of research experience, multiple publications, like multiple research presentations. And honestly, it's just like, I feel like they've come to the point where they're able to recognize who actually shows an interest in research and medicine. Like, don't think that you're not a good fit if you don't have enough research experience yet. It's more about quality over quantity. Say you worked a summer or maybe like a year at a research lab and you got a lot from it. That is worth way more than maybe a student who has like years of research experience but like was only entering data or something, you know? Like, it's quality over quantity. And if you feel though that you're not ready to apply to an MD PhD program, also take a gap year, and you could do more research during that gap year and learn a lot more. In terms of GPA, so I hope I can be the success story, but I'm not sure yet. But my GPA right now is a 3.34, something like that. So I am far from a 3.8. I am not that 3.8 student. So I am hoping I can be a success story and let you all know, like, oh yeah, it was possible, like my GPA sucked. But yeah, I don't know, like I've heard that they do look at students like holistically, so not just your grades, not just your test scores, but like research experience and like personal statements and recommendation letters are usually very important. If you're scared about the MCAT, you're not a good test taker. I'm not a good test taker either. I think I've only done average on every standardized test that I've taken. So I am really scared about the MCAT. I haven't taken it yet, but I have started studying. So I'll let you guys know how it goes. And if I do end up scoring well, I will definitely let you all know how I did that. But yeah, usually MD PhD students do have very high stats. Like their average GPAs are usually like a 3.8 or 3.9 for the program. Their average MCAT scores are usually like at a 515, maybe above. So don't be discouraged by that. If you feel like you already don't have the stats for it, it's okay. Just keep going, keep trying, especially if it's something that you think you might want to do or that you want to do. Definitely keep it an option. And another thing is too that a lot of these programs lack diversity. Like they are not diverse by any means, and like that's why more minorities should think about doing these programs. Like it is a time commitment, and you need to be sure that you want to do both. But it's free, you get paid for it. Like at least give it a try. I know when I was looking into these programs, I would get so discouraged because like I think I had first researched about it when I was trying to figure out how to go to school for free. Like I knew I didn't have money to pay for med school or any type of like graduate school, so I was like, yo, let's figure out how to go for free. And I think one option was joining the army, and I was like, nope, not for me. Like I'll get super anxious, I don't want to die, I'm not good. No, like it was not an option for me. And then the other one that I found was doing an MD PhD program, and I was like, what the heck is an MD PhD program? And I found out that you get a PhD and an MD, and it still kind of didn't make sense. Like I didn't get necessarily what does a PhD mean. Oh, I talk too much. So yeah, like I kept that in the back of my head when I started college, but then I couldn't find research positions right away, and so I was like, out the window. Like I don't even care about this program anymore. And it wasn't until I started doing research again that I was like, wait a minute, like I had checked these programs out, like maybe I should like look at it again. I forgot where I was going with this. So lack of diversity in these programs. I figured out that I did want to do these type of programs. I started looking into what schools accept what students, and all that is online. Like you can search up Northwestern and see who their incoming class is or previous classes. Like you have access to all of that, their faces, their schools that they attended. Sometimes, most of the time for like the graduate students already, they have their research interests, so you can see who got accepted and what research they're doing. And so that helps a lot to see if like the type of research that you do is accepted into that institution. And everyone that I saw on those lists were from Ivy Leagues. Like not necessarily just on Northwestern's, but like every other school who had an MD PhD program, they were from Ivy Leagues. Like they were from Harvard, they were from Yale, they were from UPenn, and I was like not checking any of the boxes. I'm not white, I'm not Asian, I didn't go to an Ivy League, like I'm not doing a basic science research, and so it was so disappointing. And so like I think it was last year that I was like, should I not? I don't really know. Like I honestly am so confused. Nobody looks like me. They say they would accept me though, because like when you log into their like admissions and like you see what kind, I happy looking boobies. When you see what kind of students they accept, like through the admissions like little spiel, they'll be like, oh yeah, we accept students from like all backgrounds, like we want to diversify the field, we want different types of research, we support non-traditional like research areas. But then their like their student population doesn't look like that, so it's like very confusing. But eventually I just got over it, and I'm like, you know what, I could be the first at any institution that I apply to. Like my research is solid, it's like we got this. But you know, I'm still getting over my fears because I still don't know. I might not even get accepted, who knows, but that's why we're recording this journey, so somebody could tell me what the heck I did wrong if I don't get in. The community also call them double docs because they're getting 2 doctorates. So the community of double docs does lack diversity, but there's a very tight community of minorities once you find it. So that's why I really love Twitter, because that's where I found all these minorities who also wanted to be double docs, and I realized how I wasn't alone, and a lot of them did face the same struggles as me, as in being low income and first generation, and maybe not coming from an Ivy League school. And even if they did come from an Ivy League school, like, we still shared similar barriers, or like, you know, things like imposter syndrome as well. So I really like that, and they like also help answer a lot of the questions, or maybe even give tips on things I like haven't even thought of. In terms of the MD PhD programs, there's 2, from my understanding, there's 2 different types of MD PhD programs. There's a program called MSTP, and it's the Medical Scientist Training Program, and that's basically the same as an MD PhD program. Like an MSTP, you're getting your MD PhD. However, what's different is the funding. So MSTPs are funded by the NIH, and the NIH stands for the National Institute of Health, something like that, I hope. That just means that your like money is guaranteed. Every year that you like go on to another year of school, like, you're always going to get paid that $30,000. Your tuition is always going to be free. Like, it just guarantees that. From my understanding, that's what it is. MSTP programs also have more regulations that they have to like follow, because they're receiving like federal money, versus MD PhD programs. I think the only difference, like regular MD PhD programs, the only difference is that they aren't federally funded, or might not receive all their money from like the NIH, and they might like apply for separate grants and then like kind of just like make this huge pile of money, but like their money comes from like different places, and they have less regulations they have to meet, and your money might not be guaranteed too if like they don't get a certain grant. I feel like they always try to find money though for the program, but like it's not necessarily guaranteed. At least that's what I've understood from my research and like talking to different representatives for MD PhD programs. That's like what I've understood. And if I'm wrong, please feel free to correct me in the comments down below. But I've done pretty extensive research, and like every time I go to research conferences, like I always go up to the medical schools and ask like the representatives like, what exactly is this, or like they'll give me flyers, or like I'll ask all my questions. So I've learned a lot, and my information should be pretty legit. In terms of like programs that I will be applying to, I'm specifically only applying to STP. Yeah, Medical Scientist Training Program. I will be specifically applying to those programs because I don't have time to figure out if I'm gonna be given money or not like every year. Like, I want my money to be guaranteed, especially because I don't have the financial freedom to be like, oh yeah, you don't have money, that's okay. No, like I'll be on the street or something. Like, I don't have time to play with money, so I will only be applying to MSTP programs. And I'm struggling to find schools that do accept students who want to do their PhD in public health. Specifically within public health, I think I've mentioned this already, but I want to get my PhD in epidemiology. And what that is, it's the study of diseases, and more so stats and numbers. And so like, if you look at the whole coronavirus, we have epidemiologists that are studying this virus, and every time someone gets sick with the virus, they have to report it to some department of public health. And once it's reported to the Department of Public Health, they enter all the information of the patient who got sick into like a database, and then the epidemiologist is basically the one who's figuring out all the statistics on it. So they're like figuring out who's getting sick where, what are the patterns, like what are the percentages of Latinos getting sick, of blacks, of whites, of Asians, Native Americans. My hair be looking bogus. Epidemiologists are the ones that do that. Not only do they do it in like infectious diseases like coronavirus, but they do it in cancer too. Like they're the ones who pull the numbers out of who's getting sick with cancer. Like how old were they, what race are they, what type of cancer did they get, how aggressive is it, like they do all that stuff. And so that's what I'm really interested in learning more about and figuring it out, and I think it would be super helpful in doing more research. I get so carried away with this stuff. Like I really like talking about it and I like learning about it. So definitely, if you are interested in being a double doc, you know, like getting your MD PhD, or maybe you just want to learn more about it, definitely follow Brianna Christophers. She's one of the legends on Twitter. She's doing her MD PhD at Cornell. I think she does more basic science research, I think. But definitely give her a follow. There's a lot of good ones. I think there's Ramon, Dr. Ramon. Well, I guess he's not a doctor yet, but yeah, there's Ramon too. Yeah, maybe I'll just also leave a list in the description box below of people you should follow if you're interested in following this path. And if you have any questions too, like feel free to ask me. I'll try to like guide you the best I can, and if I can't answer something, then I'll try to connect you with someone who can answer your questions. But definitely, if you are a minority, please look into MD PhD programs. Like there's so many areas you can do research in. Like honestly, anyone, I feel like anyone can get an MD PhD with like any type of research, but definitely get on that, look for it. And if you find research isn't for you, that's fine too. Like research isn't for everyone. Like I know some people just kind of hate the process of doing research. Like there's so much thinking, I feel like thinking and creativity that goes into it. Like I feel like if you find something you love, you know, all the torture that comes with it is a little more bearable. So whatever you end up doing or whatever you end up choosing, make sure it's something that you love, and make sure it's something that you're passionate about. And don't do, like I wouldn't do an MD PhD program if you're in it for the money, or like if you want to go to school for free and you think it's an easy way out. Like don't do it, because you'll be tortured for 8 years. Like imagine that. So definitely only do this if you enjoy it. And if you have questions on how I figured out that I wanted to do this type of program, then let me know. Even though I kind of already talked about it in this video, I can talk about it more. Alright guys, so it was nice talking to you all. Please make sure you subscribe, comment down below, like the video, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.